Welcome to the Writing with Purpose podcast, where I, Anna Woolliscroft, chat with fellow writers and outdoor enthusiasts about how we can embrace creativity and curiosity to live a life full of adventure that doesn't feel like hard work. I delve into exploratory conversations about my two loves in life, writing and nature connection, as part of my mission to share the well-being benefits they both bring. It's wonderful to have you here today. In today's episode, I'm chatting with Joanna Lambe, director of Reflect Clinic and author of Womanhood, to discuss her writing journey, the challenges faced, and the importance of empowering women through actionable steps. Well, hello, Joanna Lambe. Welcome to the Writing with Purpose podcast. It's fabulous to have you on as a guest this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to it, to be honest. So yeah, happy day.
You're more than welcome. So Joanna, you are the director of Reflect Clinic Cosmetic Surgery, and you've recently launched your first book, Womanhood. So it's going to be amazing to talk to you about that journey, your author's journey, and what inspiration fed into you wanting to create that book. And we've just been chatting before hitting the record button, haven't we? And we've got a sort of similar background really in marketing communications and creating content and that. So it'd be really fabulous to dig a little bit deeper into that. But just for the listeners, if you could just sort of give us a little bit of a snippet as to kind of where you are at the moment, and you know your what's a typical day like for you?
Right. Okay. Well, this year has been very exciting because we've been in business 10 years. So yeah, it's been. I can't believe it's 10 years, but I've looked online and we've been in business 10 years.
And congratulations!
Thank you, and I've loved dealing with our patients, and there's a common theme with the patients in that they're trying to get back their self-confidence, and you know, they're beautiful women, but we all have something that we want to improve on, and sometimes if you're thinking of that same one thing over and over again, it can really dent your confidence and your body confidence. So that has been so interesting, really, because you know, one small thing, you get it fixed and you've got a whole new life. And you know, you see and hear a lot of really good reviews and lots of essays basically of how it's changed women's lives. So that has been so rewarding. So I do that with my partner, Jared Lamb, but I do the marketing side, and you know, from doing focus groups 10 years ago in a hotel room with friends with a bottle of wine or 2-3 bottles of wine, so they can relax and enjoy it. You know, it's not all work. So what I've done, we had like focus groups, and exactly what I thought the patients would like, or future patients, was the opposite. I thought they'd like pink, fluffy logos and branding, but they wanted the clinical side. So they wanted, you know, clean lines like the teal colour that the scrubs are often in hospitals, and it's calming and it's clinical. So yeah, that, you know, always listen to the customer basically. That is the first like tip I'd give with people. But yeah, so I found that really rewarding, and I'm like, right, so after about 10 years I was thinking, God, we need to get a bit deeper than this. It's not all face and body. It's like, why have these women lost their confidence? You know, I was the same as well. You know, you sat at home with kids, and from an events and exhibition background, where I used to, every year I'd be like, wow, we've got the most customers ever, from hundreds per day in Birmingham, London and all that, to being at home with a little baby who's beautiful, but they can't, you know, talk, they can't communicate properly. I found that very, very tough. And also we moved house a lot as well, so I didn't have the networks that I would have had. So I wanted to write a book a long time ago, from when I was a student basically. And my friend the other day sent me the first couple of lines, first 2 chapters, I think, of a book I'd written years and years ago. I've forgotten about it. But, you know, when you have family, friends, career, it takes the 2nd or 3rd or 10th place. So, yeah, but it's always been there. And then when I was a stay-at-home mum, I was like, I like to do projects, a quicker thing here. How do we, do the washing quicker, do the cooking quicker? How do we delegate and all that? So I'd written all that, a big folder, it was about that thick, and I sent it away to a few places. No one was interested. So that deflated me a bit. And then I thought I'll focus on what I know I can do, which was marketing. So same as you, Chartered Institute of Marketing exams and postgraduate diploma and all that, which I love doing as well. But I thought I need to use what I've got. So I was like, work for other companies, and exactly the same journey as you, is that you try and work for all these other companies, and I'm thinking, I don't like the way they run, or I can do that better myself. And it's, they say it's flexible. It's not flexible at all. Half an hour on a Tuesday, getting out early, is not flexible when you're a parent or you've got your family life. So it didn't work out. And then I thought, I don't want to work for the business and take the easy route. But in the end, I was like, why am I fighting this? Let's make it easy for me. And so that's what I did. I eventually focused and, building the business. And then because I've had so many years of building the business and meeting all these women, I thought, like, let's go deeper. And same as you, there's so much commonality between women, and they're all fighting it in their own, our own homes, our own boxes. I'm like, this is the book, by the way, Womanhooded.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So, and that's my daughter on the front.
Is it? I wondered who that was, or whether it was just a stock image. I mean, we'll share a link in the show notes so that people can go and read more and purchase it. But
so that was the background. That was in the garden, and I don't know if you know Aga Mortlock Photography. She came round and took a few photos, and that was one of them. So, yeah. So use the contacts you've got. That's also another thing. Make your life easy in a lot of ways. So I've tried to do that, and that's all my inspiration for the book.
Yeah, brilliant. And it sounds as though you've kind of had that writer's bug in your blood quite an early age. When you mentioned about your friend had the first couple of chapters, was that what you wrote originally, or was that something else? So
it was a non-fiction book. I was at university, so yeah, I wouldn't want to print that now. To be honest, I think I'm more a non-fiction type of person, because I like to be practical and have action plans and that type of thing. At the moment in my life, anyway, that's what I want. Action, women's action.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, we met at a literary lunch, didn't we, last year originally, which is held by Sue France, and then again this year, which is very inspirational because we've got authors there that give talks about their journey as well, and hints and tips, and you can mingle with them, which is always helpful as well. And yeah, I think there's this kind of, a lot of people that write, there's always something kind of nagging there, but until you get the right, I don't know whether it's possibly a combination of the right topic and being in the right place in life. I think from what you've been saying, your ideas have been bubbling for quite some time, and then you just got to that point where, yes, this is it, and this is what it's going to be. So how long did it take you to write? And you've launched it this year, haven't you? What was kind of that process like for you, and were you able to fit that in okay as well with the day job at the clinic?
Well, so I basically gave myself a day a week away from the clinic. So as I was saying in the book, you have to delegate sometimes. So that's what I did. And then I was like, right, I've got this day, I've got to get it done. Otherwise I've wasted my day. And some days I'd work a lot longer, the hours, and, into the night. If you're in the right zone, I was just typing away to the point that I had a finger injury because I was typing away for so long. I was like, why is this hand really swollen? It's because I've been typing for 5 hours.
And that's amazing.
Stuck in that position.
God, did you have to have a rest then for a while just so your finger could recuperate?
I did. I was like, why is this swollen? So I was lifting my hands up, and, you elevate your hands for any swelling or any body that's swelling up. You elevate them, the blood helps them, goes down, and then they're less swollen. But that was a weird injury because I I was so much in the moment and so much I was really enjoying the writing. I did have to shut. It was like a classic thing. I sat in. We've got a guest room which is at the top of the house, and I literally shut the door, closed the curtains, and so I was in like a semi-dark room, and I was totally in that zone. And what you were saying was really important, really, because you have to be in the zone, and it's something you're like. It's no use pushing it. Sometimes you're like, not really in the mood, and some people have to write 200 words a day. I couldn't do that. I tell you what I did do though. I set myself a goal of 1,000 words a week. So once I hit that target, I wrote it down on paper, because I still write everything on paper first, and then I did myself a big tick, and went like that, patted myself on the back, because I'm like, I need to know that I've achieved that goal. But I read somewhere that the book had to be 15 to 20,000 words. So every week, I think it was 20 weeks, a bit more. And then I ticked every week that had hit that goal.
Yeah, well done for keeping that structure as well, because I think that's where people fall down sometimes. It's difficult to keep to that structure. And it doesn't have to be, like you said, do 200 words every day, but if you can do something over a week, and if you're not feeling the flow, don't try and force it, because it probably won't be something as natural as if you were in flow. But yeah, I like when you were talking about your little, your guest room in the dark or semi-darkness there. That reminded me of I've read Stephen King's On Writing, which is a part memoir of his journey, if you like, and part tips. But he talks about going in his room and just shutting the door, and he's got his dog there. But I think I'm sure it was sort of heavy metal music he used to listen to as well.
Whatever it takes, yeah. Yourself best, don't you? And either your 1,000 words a week or your 200 a day, and your lifestyle as well. Because I thought I was a bit strange sitting in the semi-darkness. And then one of my all-time heroes is the Spice Girls, Jerry Halliwell. So back the first article I ever wrote was an article on the Spice Girls. And have you heard of Number 10 magazine? I don't even still going. It's a graduate magazine. So I found it when I was temping one day, and I was like, oh, I could write for this. So I wrote my first article in that. That was a million years ago. But it's what inspires you, isn't it? And it is everyone's, they say everyone's got a book inside them, and you think, what is that thing, that message you want to tell the world? And the other thing I had in my mind, I had a vision board, and I had this picture, all beautiful pictures on a board, and I'm like, what do I want to be by the end of this year? Because I don't know about you, you can have these ideas, but you've got to make them, in my mind, specific, measurable, marketing, achievable, realistic, and timed. And that really works for me. And you've got to, if you have your timeline, then, and I told lots of people as well, I thought, tell people I've got to do it now, because I'm going to look really stupid if I don't do it. I thought, oh God, I'll tell as many people as possible, and then they'll ask me, and I'll be like, yes, I'm nearly there. So it was a lot of things that sort of the vision board, definitely the smart technique, telling people, and that helped it become more alive, like real, if you're saying I'm working on this. Yeah. So a lot of things, but they were the main three things, I think.
Yeah. And that's a good way for people to hold you accountable then, isn't it? If you're telling people and they're, if they keep asking you, where are you at? How you start to feel guilty if you've actually missed a week.
Like, I'm going to do 2 weeks worth this week. And then I think as well, having positive role models. So as you say, we met at the Sue Francis famous literary lunch. And I remember literally going, because I'm from the Wirral, I don't know if you've noticed the accent, but we moved to Altrincham and Sale before that 15 years ago, when my first daughter was due to be born. And so I joined all these groups, and, this Plazzy Scouser goes to a Cheshire ladies event. So I was honestly quite, I wouldn't say scared, but I was a bit like, nervous about going to the first one. And then everyone was so welcoming, and it sort of made it seem more real when women like me and women like you they're putting their hands up to say they've written a book. And you're like, wow, written a book, that is so high off my sort of expectation of myself. But I must have had it in the background all the time, being around those women. And at the end of every session, she said, put your hand up if you're going to write a book this time for next time. And I never put my hand up. I was too scared to put my hand up. But I knew I was going to do it, but I just wasn't ready to put myself out there, which is really, it's really mad. But I was working on it. But that's the self-confidence issue as well. It's what you see yourself as and what you see yourself achieving and those limits you put on yourself.
Yeah, well done. I think you're absolutely right because, with your background in your career, you've been a writer for years, decades, and me as well. But I think being a writer or a copywriter or in marketing communications, for me, I don't know how you sort of approach this now that you have published, but to call myself an author was totally different. Just using that word author instead of writer or copywriter just didn't seem to, that couldn't possibly be. I mean, I'm still on my journey. I haven't got anything published yet, but when I think about it, you mentioned about the article that you'd written on the Spice Girls. We've had things published umpteen times. It's just not been that chunkier piece, the thing that's just got your name on. You've done the cover and everything. But yeah, I mean, I understand that the networking side of things, it can be quite nerve-wracking. And you sort of settle into it, I think, after a while, don't you? When you realise that everyone else is normal. Maybe not, well, I don't like using the word normal, actually, because what is normal? But, there's people there like you.
Yeah, I think the older you get and the more experience you get, you find that nobody's normal. It's boring. Normal is boring, don't you find? I like people's quirkiness and, you're like, oh, didn't expect that. We make these snap judgments, don't we, when we look at people? And I've tried to listen more as I get older, and you're like, oh, I think you're going to be like this. And then you find out they're totally different. Or I find a lot of people tell me their stories as well, whether because I'm in the business I'm in and, they go to the toilet and people are flashing their boobs at me and go, what can you do about it? That happens a lot. And then, I don't know, I'm like quite an auntie type of figure, I think. So, what would you tell your auntie wouldn't necessarily want. So I do get a lot of that. But it's, we're all
I think you've kind of got a good energy about you and people feel drawn to you and are happy just to open up. Yeah, I used to get quite a lot. Well, I still do really. But, people just seem to, I think I look at it now and think, oh, that's nice that they feel comfortable in sharing something with me. But there was one point when I used to get a bit, never saved, but I used to think, not sharing stuff with me because it would bring me down. I am one of those people that I think take on other people's emotions. So if someone's been really negative or really down about something, it affects me. And I leave them and I get home and I've got banging headache. But I think sometimes, like you say, as you get older, you change a little bit and you sort of see things from other perspectives, not just your own. And you have to appreciate that there's other approaches and people are in situations and are going through different things that you can't relate to, or maybe you can relate to in different ways. And, there's sort of that be compassionate rather than judge aspect as well.
Yeah, definitely. As you get older, you think listening is a non-judgy, I think that's the way to go, really.
Yeah. And I think that's why I like, I try and sort of promote the concept of journaling so much because, the book, the pen, the blank page or a screen, if that's what people prefer, is that non-judgmental companion that's always there, always listening, never going to judge you for anything. You can tell them whatever, have a real rant or, work through a problem or try and set some goals and then, keep revisiting those. And I think it's a powerful thing, using that the same way as having just a good conversation with someone that's willing to listen and perhaps ask some of those deeper questions that you need to think about and reflect on in order to move forward, really. And I think your book, I haven't read your book, I'll have to get your book actually, but it sounds as though you're tackling things like that and you're giving people tips and, taking them through sort of step-by-step processes to, just live a better life.
Yeah. I feel like women, we're all in our boxes, big boxes, small box, whatever, but you're in your own house or your home and you're in your own box. And I think women are their own worst enemy in so many ways. And there's lots of reasons for that. It's an avalanche basically of messages to be a good wife or a good daughter or a good mum or a good friend. And in that is lovely, but women tend to second themselves all the time. And I think it's hard to get out of that routine of seconding yourself. So I've tried to, so basically the book is 3 parts. So I've done a lot of feminist theory. I've been interested in that topic all my life. And also I've put myself, my heart and soul into it and my own personal experience, which that was the difficult bit. I was like, am I ready to share this? I mean, I didn't even want to go under my own name for a long time. I was going to call myself Joanna Diamond, but anyway.
Oh, it's nice and sparkly.
Yeah, so that's the marketing thing. But in the end, I thought, no, if I want to connect with people properly, I've got to use my own name. So then I thought, right, it's all right talking about it, but let's get some action going. So that's why I've put the action plans at the end of every chapter. So it's like self-reflection. So there's ideas to empower. So just ideas that ask questions and then let you think about it yourself. And then you've had a chance to process that and think about it. Then there are actually action plans. So you can look at your own life and then you find out that these things in your own life for women across the country and the world are struggling in their own lives. So you're not on your own, but you're also, have an action plan to improve yourself or improve your life and achieve your true potential, really. That's the true message of the book. We're wasting time wiping worktops and doing all these things. And where does that get you at the end of the day? Nowhere. Really notices.
No.
Yeah, I know. But you can get lost in that, can't you? Cooking, cleaning, washing, ironing. And at the end of the day, it's very, very boring and it's needed. But let's do something more because women have got wonderful brains and so much potential. So that's my main message. And you've got all that potential and you forget to dig deep in yourself and be the agent in your own life. We hand over our power all the time. Maybe your partner drives the car, maybe someone else manages your finances and all these things. Actually, you're better doing it yourself. I've learned, I hand these things over sometimes like, I'm better at that. You just don't realise it. But you have to keep doing these things for you to gain your confidence and to realise how good you are. Yeah. One of the things I did, I went on, we went on holiday and I did a 4x4 trip and I would never have done something like that. But the kids wanted to go, so I was like, I'll go on this 4x4 trip. So we took it in turns to drive it. My daughter has never driven, but I gave her the chance. I was like, no, you drive. And then I thought, why am I giving her the opportunity to drive? Why am I doing it myself? She never had a lesson and she, well, I had more faith in her at one point than myself. Anyway, then after 20 minutes, she's like, oh, you have a turn. So I got in the driving seat of this 4x4 on rough terrain and what have you. Honestly, it was like a skill I never knew I had. I was brilliant at it. And I love the speed for one thing. I'm like getting a proper thrill from the speed. And then my daughter was so smooth and confident. She was doing a video in the back of this 4x4. So because I was smooth as well as fast and she got some great footage. I was like, I never push myself forward and many women do not. And I'm like, wow, what a skill and talent I've got. And then thinking, like women like you, women like all my friends, family, they've all got all these skills, but they're untapped. And I'm like, we've all got to use these. Come on, it's fun and you live. You feel like you're really living, don't you, when you're on the edge and pushing yourself up.
I loved what you were saying there about the off-roading, the Jeep driving, and you're right, it does give you a little bit more of a thrill, doesn't it? That, oh, there's so much excitement in life. And are you considering being a rally driver?
Well, that's the thing. I love driving fast, and I'm like, I scare myself sometimes. I'm like, where's the limit on this?
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
So yes, so maybe I will actually. Don't plant those seeds in my head, because you never know.
You don't. I used to live near a woman that I think she was in her late 50s at the time, and she'd got one of these. Well, what's the name of it now? It's a Ford, but it's more of an American car, like one Mustang. Yeah, so she had a Mustang, and she used to go. I'm not sure if it was a sort of class or if it was more of a group that she'd go to, but she'd go to somewhere in Birmingham. And she'd do like these drifting, where you kind of, you just drive on the accelerator, don't you? And the back end goes round like this. And so she'd do this drifting.
Right, I'm writing that down now, drifting.
But I'm quite an adrenaline junkie at the moment. I go on quite a lot of these adventures. I can never remember the name of it, but it's in the Lake District somewhere, where you climb in between the hills and that on ladders and rock climbing, and you're quite high up. So it's just, it's not for the faint-hearted really, and my legs were very wobbly when I started. But the more that I did of it, which like you were saying with the driving, the more confidence you grow, and the more you can say, actually, I can achieve this, I can do this sort of thing. What am I worried about? And I think you're right with a lot of men as well, but particularly with women, we seem to just look after other people and think we're on, keep it safe with the cooking and the cleaning and looking after and sort of planning behind, but we don't necessarily get out there and do all of this fun stuff until maybe we reach a certain age, or something happens and we get a realization moment. And I love all that sort of stuff. I did a race called Escape from Meriden on Friday. So 1 minute to midnight, everybody got released from a place called Meriden in England, which is supposedly the centre of England. And the race, or you can run or walk, but the race is you just go wherever you want to within the next 24 hours, and then you reach a 30-mile point and you get a medal. 60 you get a medal, 90 you get a medal, but it's as the crow flies. I did 37 miles in just under 9 hours on Friday night come Saturday day to get my silver medal. And I've still got a bit of a knee injury at the moment because I fell over, but I did it. And you can look back on that and think, wow, that was a real achievement. I don't know about you, but I think the more that we do these sorts of things, the more we want to do these sorts of things. We have a bit of a taste for it.
100%. That's the scary thing, because it scares me, but it excites me at the same time, I'm sure, because it's totally out of your comfort zone and everything you've been taught to be a woman or a girl. And you're like, actually, we're quite we've got these like actions inside of us, and these, as I'm saying, skills and, things that, it's a little flame sometimes, isn't it? That you think, wow, could I try that, or should I? And then you actually do it, and, you're actually like, oh my God, my heart. But you're living your life, aren't you? And gaining confidence. So what did you do? Did you have like a vest on, or how did you cope in the dark?
So we had, there was a mandatory kit that we had to have, a head torch and reflective clothing and waterproof jackets and backpacks and water and food and that sort of thing. So we'd all got the reflective stuff and the head torches on, and then people usually have support by someone who's in a car. So there was 5 of us doing it. I think overall there's a few hundred people that do it. So there was 5 of us in our group, and our main leader, if you like, that normally leads things like this, was injured this year. She was our support, and she met us at, I think, just over 20 miles. She met us, and then again at about 34 miles. And then myself and Dawn, a friend, we retired after we got over that. So we just got over the silver point by about 2 meters, and we're like, right, that's it, not anymore, I'm shattered. But some of the other ones went over they did 50 miles. And Steve, or the only guy that did it with us, I think he finished on nearly 60. So, I mean, that's some tough going. But yeah, we had to wear certain things. So, we were visible, but it's such good fun. And I think another thing that, you feel shattered, and I know sometimes I get a bit disappointed with myself, oh, you could have done more, but I'd had no sleep. Normally your body is asleep and replenishing itself, isn't it, when you're in bed at night? So I wasn't giving my body that. I was eating every so often. All these things kind of add up to it being more of a challenge than just kind of having your breakfast, getting up, starting something like that at 10 o'clock. Is completely different to having no sleep and starting at midnight. But like you say, it's the excitement versus the nerves. And I think that's kind of the same feeling in your belly or wherever you feel that. So just, kind of go on the excitement rather than nerves approach to it.
I'm amazed. I'm going to see if I can do that as well.
You've got all of these bucket list goals now.
I want to write them all down because I've got to tick them off my list now.
Brilliant. So sorry, go on.
So looking at you, I would never have known that we were going to talk about that. We met and had a glass of Prosecco. I had too much Prosecco that day at the table. And then I realised I was going to have to talk to the room. But talking to you and sitting next to you was like a random meeting, really, who sat on what table. And honestly, looking at you, I would never have known that you'd done this midnight meridian run. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Out about that more and tell people, because you get loads of people joining that.
Yeah. Well, I've said I'm not doing it again, but there are other things I'd like to take part in. A couple of friends doing something in May, which sounds quite interesting, which is a little bit more of a trail woodland type race, whereas this one was very much hard surface and road, and that's why my legs are hurting, I think, because I prefer the trail runs, which are just a bit soft, more technical on your feet, but softer on your joints. And you get to a certain age, you have to worry about these kind of things, don't you? Keeping yourself in good health.
You need your knees.
Most definitely do.
Don't have to hammer them too much, but yeah, it's keeping them going and doing things for your body. I was saying about I go dancing twice a week, and like, am I mad? I'm with a load of middle-aged women doing Diva Fever, and back in the day, your core self, I always loved dancing, and I would literally, when videos came out, I'd watch like Madonna and 5 Star. Oh my God, I loved Denise. So those videos were on, and I'd put them on pause and rewind and practice all these moves. And my friend came in, she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know, I just like doing it." So it's a good way of, you have, your family and life takes over. And then I'm like, going back, I'm nearly an empty nester now. One of my daughters has moved to Bristol. The other one's doing the GCSE. So I can see, the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm like, I need to get back to myself now. What do I want to do and fill my time? So it started one day a week. I thought, God, that's a bit much at first. And then I was like, oh, it's twice a week, and built myself up. And I didn't know all the moves, and it wasn't, my body wasn't as confident, and I'm good with timing, but I wasn't necessarily knowing the moves and remembering them. And then, of course, over time, like anything, you get the skill. And, before you know it, I'm giggling at every time I do it. And it's all a feel-good factor, isn't it? Exercise, doing what you're good at as well, because I've always loved dancing. And I think you need to plan that time into your week as a woman, not just working hard, but actually, putting yourself as a priority, which I've found quite difficult, to be honest, but I'm making myself do that every day now. On my diary, I've got my 6 things I need to achieve for the business, and then I do positives at the end of every day, and also self, things I need to do for myself, like a project for that week. So, and that gives me the impetus to keep going, because I think, it's very, very easy to flog yourself to death as a woman or any entrepreneur, like exactly what you said, a need to do more and kicking yourself for not doing more. But you need to say, well, actually, what have you done and what you've achieved? Because that is, you're literally up there. I know if you've done that trail, I'm like, wow, that is incredible. Honestly, that is the truth. That is an incredible thing to do. And, even have the idea and then put your kit on and do it. That, I bet that got your heart rate.
It did, yeah. And the girl that I said that supported us, that couldn't do it because she was injured, she did a little video of us before we started. And I look back on it because she posted it to Facebook, and I was full of smiles. So I was really excited to get going. Yeah, I think we do need to do these things, but sometimes it's baby steps, isn't it? You mentioned about starting the dancing, and you did 1 day a week. Now you do 2 days a week. And I think when you find something that makes you feel alive like that, you do carve out the time for it. And I think certainly from experience that there was one point up until about 5 years ago where maybe 6 years ago, I just worked and I did nothing but work. And I don't have children. My partner's got a daughter now that stays with us for half the week, but I don't have my own children. So I didn't have that aspect to sort of look after children. So everything I did was just work. And, I took on projects that I knew I didn't really enjoy doing, and I didn't know how to say no to people, but I wasn't doing anything else for myself. I wasn't doing any of that self-care aspect. So, I wasn't feeling alive, if that makes sense. But you have to be a bit more, you've got to make that first step, haven't you, in order to feel alive. And then you think, look at all these things that I'm missing out on, and then you sort of find new things and other things to keep I think you mentioned the flame earlier on. You're keeping that flame burning.
Yeah, it is a little flicker there, and you're like, can I, can't I? There is that thought. That was the word I was looking for before, actually, self-care. So try, this is all a new thing as well. So self-care once a day. And some people do it at the beginning of the day to, so they know they've done it. And some people at the end of the day. But I write it down every day and then I put a tick against it, because then I feel like I've achieved, even though it's just looking after myself.
Yeah. And then coming back to your book as well, if you've got those little prompts and those, things for people to do at the end of each chapter, that's then encouraging them to find that little flicker and to, help it to burn a little bit more, and to question, is there more to life, or, what can I do to, help me feel better, be healthier, get more from life. And sometimes we just need that permission, isn't it? And I'm guessing that a lot of you, the end of your chapters, you're helping people to think about that and give themselves permission to do things for themselves and not just, be the backbone for others.
Exactly, that's it. I mean, I find that difficult as well, part of the reason when I was going through the book and writing an action plan, they say, what would you tell your best friend? What advice would you tell your best friend if you're doing things or you're unsure about doing things? And then, so that's what I've tried to do in the book. What would you tell your best friend? And telling myself and telling everyone, basically, because women, we learn a lot on our journey. And I wanted to I was thinking, I had a lot of health issues in lockdown. It was driving me absolutely nuts. Menopause, just working too hard as well. Not just working too hard over a long time. And I think I was probably approaching burnout, to be honest. And I'm like, well, who is telling me to, I've got to tidy this, I've got to do this, and work 7, 8, 9 hours a day. No one was telling me that but myself. And then I got to a point, I was like, I'm working too hard now. I can't do it. So I delegated, cooking once a week to one daughter, then to the other daughter, and then to my partner. And I'm like, I feel like a bit of weight has come off my shoulders. And it was great for them, because they obviously, you need to be independent, be able to cook and, feed yourself nutritious food. So they were really pleased to be doing it. I'm like, why didn't I think of this years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, but it's like the weight is on the woman to be the, mental load, physical load, and emotional load is on your shoulders a lot of the time. And I'm like, actually, this is good for everyone. And, people got engaged in it and did far better cooking than I've ever done because they weren't bored. They weren't bored, and it was interesting to them and fun. I think tips like that, and you think, God, I wish someone had told me that years ago. And times have changed anyway. Tips that would have happened 20, 30 years ago, they don't always resonate now, do they? The world's changing so quickly.
Yeah.
But I thought that is much needed. And then when I delegated those things, that's when I had the time and the mental capacity basically to focus on what this flame inside me had been telling me. I was like, I need to tell everyone this, before I die.
Yeah. Yeah. It's your life sharing. Yeah. I think, no, that's right. I mean, things we do sort of, we kind of have these little constructs that we learn, or, a sign of the times, because it wasn't long ago when, it was always the men that went out to work, and it was always the women that stayed at home and did the cooking and the cleaning. And you're absolutely right. That doesn't really happen the same anymore these days. It's a lot more, things are a lot more on they're shared more. There's a bit more equal balance in various relationships and situations, and and it's never going to be 100% equal, is it? But and things change, and but it's good to talk about these things and get these things out in the open as well, isn't it? Like you say, that the problems with menopause, that's it's good now that there's so many prolific figures talking about that, so that women feel that they're not on their own with that, struggling with those, because that's a big impact on emotions and hormones, and that impacts other people as well as the individual going through it, doesn't it? So there's so much there.
100%, it does impact. That's the thing, women struggle on their own. It's a big thing at the moment, menopause. But honestly, 3 years ago, that wasn't on the agenda or mainstream. Can you believe it? In 2021, woman, if they're lucky, goes through the menopause, and no one has mentioned it. It was a massive taboo. And I remember like strange things happening to me, but I thought I was going mad, and I thought I had cancer of the ovaries, and these things cross your mind because you've got no knowledge, so you think the worst. And I'm so glad now that, Davina has come out with it and, spreading the word. I love Davina. She's got another issue now, hasn't she? But she definitely opened the door, as far as I'm concerned, about the menopause. And it does, as you say, it affects the woman mentally, physically, emotionally, but also whoever she lives with. Happy wife, happy life, they used to say. And, the woman is the centre of the home, and, most times. And if she's burnt out or she's suffering, then everyone suffers. So it's in men's interest for the woman in the home to be supported and, get the HRT or go the natural route, whatever worked for them. But it's a journey, isn't it? I don't know about you, but I like a quick fix. There's no quick fix, and it takes 2 or 3 months to try this hormone, and then another 3 months you up it, reduce it, blah blah blah. So that's one thing. I was like, it's taking longer than I would like, but at least you're in the process and you're getting it sorted, which is better than not doing anything and sitting and waiting for something to happen. You've got to be active. I remember going to my doctor. It was in his surgery, and one of them wasn't interested or knowledgeable about the menopause. And then I read up about it. It was Davina's book I bought. And she said, if you don't get one doctor in your practice, go to another one. And then I went to the other doctor in the practice, and I told her what I needed and whatever I'd looked online. And she gave me those medications, and I'm like, I had to push it a bit as well, to be honest, on the testosterone one. Because your body has 3 hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, which is supposed to be a male hormone. But women have it in a small part. So it's not licensed for women at the moment, but it's licensed for men. So you can have a bit of it, but you need that mix of the three to function and work together. So once I got the testosterone, literally 2 days later, I'd got my focus back and my energy. You know, things you learn, but by hard trial and error.
Yeah. And being, confident in what it is that you need. Sometimes being a bit forceful with the people that can give you something. Because if you would, if you'd not read that book or you'd not learned about other information off your own back, you probably would have just accepted what the original doctor said and just struggled on.
Yeah. Well, my friend had it, who's a beautiful friend, she's an entrepreneur, very hardworking, and 6 months before that, she'd gone to the doctor and they'd give her antidepressants. And I'm like, you are not depressed. You're going through the menopause. It's obvious. But that's because of the shared knowledge from Davina and, online and in newspapers. I was like, that is totally wrong for you. You're not depressed at all. And so that having the knowledge is so powerful.
Yeah. And then you've put a lot of your story and other people's into the book to give them knowledge. Definitely. So we'll share some links in the show notes so where people can get hold of the book. But what's the best way for how people can connect with you if they want to learn more or just follow your journey?
Yeah. Well, it is a journey, to be honest. So in the next, I'm going to tell you now because then I've got to do it. So I'm doing some
holding you accountable.
So Womanhooded workshops I'm doing in January. I think we had a little chat before, and I think women do better with a group. So you can do the book and work through the chapters on your own. But I think you could, if that's not working or that's the first start of it, you can join a workshop. I think I'm going to have 10 to 12 people on the workshop, so you can share your story and get support, and also have actionable plans so you can reach your true potential. So my Instagram is what I use the most, which is I am Joanna Lambe, at I am, and then Joanna, Joanna Lambe, E on the end of it. And yeah, follow the journey, and then you'll get to hear all about when the workshops are from January. If you want a Christmas present or a birthday present, the best Christmas present you can give to yourself is the tool so you can reach your true potential. So I will get so much out of it, and I can't wait to meet other women and do something that's worthwhile and see other women flourish as well. I can't wait.
Definitely a great start to the new year as well. New year, new start, they say, don't they? Or fresh beginnings. So that's fantastic. And am I right in thinking that the workshops will kind of follow the process of the book?
Yeah,
tap into the book at different stages.
Yeah, so I'm going to do each book. Each chapter in the book is going to be one workshop.
Brilliant.
I thought I've written most of it already. So all the questions and the action plan, and then so I'll give a bit of my story. I'll give a bit of theory why I've done certain chapters, and then the women be able to talk in groups or work it out on their own. What their true identity was back in the day when they were a teenager, and how to get back to that and get back to your true self and move forward with it and get happy life. That's what it's all about.
It is, definitely. I think sometimes in most cases, I think as we age, we lose that link to our true self, and it's only when something happens or again we reach a certain age, which I think I've said before many times, we kind of find our way back to that. But often we do need that encouragement with other people, and it's nice to be able to do that in a shared environment where people can talk about what's worked, what hasn't worked, what position they're coming from, what their situation is. And yeah, it's just a really nice, supportive environment for people, a safe space that they can share and work through things together. So I'm sure they're going to be hugely successful. Are they online?
Well, I was going to do in real life. Yeah. So either or, to be honest. I think in real life initially, and then I'll roll it out to online. And wherever it goes, basically. See where it goes. I feel like I've got to do my bit and that's it, get the ball rolling and, see where it goes. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And there'll probably be lots of questions during those sessions that might lead to other books or, other spin-off resources or sessions for people. And yeah, I think for having them face-to-face, it's sometimes more accessible for people online, but having them face-to-face, there's just more depth in the relationship and what people can gain. I think you said at the start, about wanting to go deeper and, ask the questions, the why behind certain things. And I think when you're in that face-to-face, there's almost more encouragement for you to be able to do that and share with that. It's easy to hide behind a screen when it's online and not necessarily, put yourself forward quite the same.
Yeah. Sometimes you do. You need a bit of a, hand on the arm or something, because we are all in it together. We're here once, aren't we? And, here to support each other. I need support in some things. Other women need support in other things. And I think that's what's going to help everyone at the end of the day. You have to be a bit vulnerable. But then once you've got that deeper shared connection, and then you can move forward from that. So that's what I'm hoping to do anyway.
Yeah, you can't take on the world yourself.
Exactly. Try my best to improve it.
Excellent. Well, it's been absolutely fabulous to talk to you, Joanna. Thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much, Anna, for the opportunity. Honestly, I'm over the moon. Thank you. We didn't plan to do this morning, did we? It was just going to be a 5-minute chat. Next minute,
we're pressing the record button and here we go.
Jump in.
Yeah, brilliant.
All right. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to today's Writing with Purpose podcast. Having conversations with fellow writers or adventure enthusiasts brings two of my biggest loves in life together, writing and nature connection. I've been a copywriter and content creator for 23 years, but my passion is writing for well-being, and I'm on a mission to share the benefits that putting pen to paper has for personal wellness with as many people as possible. If you want to learn more about writing for your well-being and journaling techniques, please connect with me in my Facebook group, Journaling with Anna.